I will call our meeting to order. Agenda review and disposition. Anything to add to tonight's agenda?
I do need the non-public session, Mr. Chairman, for two resignations.
Okay. Minutes of February 6th, 2017. I'll entertain a motion to accept as stated.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second. Second. All in favor? Principal's report. Julie.
Well, I think we ended talking about the luau, and I'll start with talking about the luau. It was a great success. Our PTA hosted a very well-attended, very warm energy. There was an actual hula teacher there, a gentleman who taught some hula lessons, and it was just, there was a DJ, there was dancing, there were games for the kids. It was just really healthy, wholesome, great midwinter fun, great to see so many families in attendance. So it was a great night. On Tuesday before our vacation, we hosted the documentary Screenagers Growing Up in a Digital World for students in grades 5 through 8. We also had students from Rumney and Wentworth join us. The movie was told from a mother's perspective. The mom has a teenage girl and a teenage boy. She's also a medical doctor and was interested in the physical aspects of growing up with a constant screen. And it was interesting, the difference. Girls, definitely the higher percentage on social media, and the boys, the high percentage was on the video games. And they talked about the addictive nature, primarily of the video games, and kind of some extreme cases. But that evening, or actually on Wednesday evening, we hosted it for parents and community, and it was like 10 of 6, and we had 4 people, and then all of a sudden we counted about 50 people who came and attended. Deb Narrow helped get the word out, and other community members. So it was great to see so many people joining us, and definitely showing their concern for our kids and just the transition. And we talked about, obviously there's the good, it's just the balance. And our students just have such great heads on their shoulders. When we talked about it with them, they wanted structures. In the video they went through and talked about having a contract with parents, about guidelines, and the kids they raised their hands and they said yes, that would be helpful. Carol Lavasser did have our students do just a real little survey on use of technology from our own students in grades 5 through 8. So there were about 194 responses. Do you have your own cell phone? About 65% of our students have their own cell phones. Do you have your own computer, laptop, iPad, tablet? About 85.6% of our students have their own tablet. How many minutes a day do you spend on your computer? 1 to 30 minutes was the highest. That's about 36%. Over 60 minutes, 24.2 felt that they were over that time. So, do you have the gaming system such as Xbox or PlayStation? 70% of our students do. How many minutes a day do you spend with your Xbox? Over 60 minutes, only 18% of our students. So I feel like we provide a lot of healthy, wholesome. Do you use your device beyond bedtime? 38.1% said yes, but that, I'm not sure. And then these were interesting. Do you think you should be able to use your cell phone at school? And it was 50-50, really. 50% felt that they could, and most of them think it would be a distraction. So they were really, it was a great conversation, a great venue to have that conversation. I wanted to say thank you to our PTA again. They provided healthy snacks, and the National Honor Society came over and provided childcare that night. So that was a great help. We were actually thrilled to be able to do it, and we're going to have a similar event on April 19th, where we're going to host the movie Most Likely to Succeed, and that's a perspective on the type of curriculum and instruction that will best help our students succeed in the future. On Tuesday evening, before vacation, the economics club that I've mentioned, that is an enrichment program, and they meet before school here in the computer lab. They have been working with Professor Daniel Lee. He's also a parent here in the building. They spent the evening sharing their research and findings. The students used the program Watson Analytics, and they tracked internet traffic based on Twitter activity. So students would create a hashtag, such as hashtag merino wool, and then they would use the program and be able to see where and when the activity was at the highest level, and give that information to our local businesses. So merino wool was Todd Elaine from -30, and the other participants were from the Vintage Fret Shop and Mike Ahern of Ahern Christmas Trees. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. They learned about time zones because it was beyond New Hampshire, and so it was a really great project for them to learn to start thinking in that mindset. Our students who participated, great kids, Elliot Sargent, Diane Lee, Thomas Santori, Hunter McLeod, Ethan Gerard, Mackenzie Gray, and Jenny Vaughn. So we're going to trying to keep that program growing, and of course, thank you to Daniel Lee. This is his baby for sure. SAU 848 hosted a demonstration for the database program Power School. Presently, we are using the program Web to School for about 9 years, and we're just due for an upgrade. The PES team of Kara Lavasser, Andy McDonald, Scott Southworth, Marianne Yetton, and I attended, and we all were really enthusiastic about the capacity for having a database that meet our needs on many levels. In addition to attendance, it will help make some changes to our grading. It's more smooth. It is an easy upload for data like Smarter Balanced and NWEA, and it will help with state reporting. Most of our faculty and staff are really fluid and have really positive attitudes about things like our database, and spend a lot of time, and Power School does offer great training webinars for people to look at. So those were the big happenings. Important dates coming up. Tomorrow, we're actually taking a team to Amherst Middle School to look at some of their programming around response to intervention and performance assessments. So we're excited about that. We're going to be doing a lot of what we're calling learning visits, where we'll go places and then people will come to Plymouth Elementary School as well. So we're excited about that kind of energy. On Wednesday, 7th grade is going to see The Giver, the play. They've already read the book and done projects on that. March 10th, we have our science vertical team meeting. March 22nd, we have our PACE Institute and Cultural Arts Night. And we do start Smarter Balance testing March 27th, and that will go through April 21st. And that's grades 3 through 8. I do have the most current enrollment, +4 as of today. So if you would like this. Okay.
Those two again. The way you want to see the numbers.
Yeah.
Thank you, Julie. Kelly?
Hi. So just a few quick notes. Our athletic director, Mr. Underwood, tells us that our winter sports teams are done. and we will look to start our spring seasons officially on Thursday, April 6th. Once we've got our musical coming up that same week, the beginning of the week, so they'll start on that Thursday the 6th. And of course, we offer spring sports of softball, baseball, and track and field. The middle school held their annual Winter Olympics on Friday, February 24th, before the winter break. Great day of activities. We had a lot of outdoor activities like broomball and relays and kickball on the baseball field out in the snow. It's great. And then couple that with some indoor things such as Name That Tune and human bowling and movie trivia, human spelling bee. And then we also had our forecourt volleyball. But the kids were great. They were all dressed in their classroom team colors and looked really good and did a great job displaying their team pride, and were really very sportsmanlike too throughout the day during all the friendly competitions. So it was fun to watch. We lucked out. The weather held for us all morning until the rain came perfectly right about the lunch break. And the students were treated to a barbecue lunch if they chose, and the staff had a variety of chili options to eat for lunch and paid a few dollars to fill their bellies, and that money went towards grade 8 Montreal trip. And my understanding is just the money raised from eating chili that day was enough to sponsor a student, I think is what I heard, if that was correct. So we ate a lot of chili, but it was great. As usual, at the end of the day, we were joined by a lot of our PES alumni that came over from the high school and joined us for the volleyball game. That's always great to see those kids come back, and we had a lot of them this year. It was fun. But many thanks to Nancy Stock for organizing the day, and to all the faculty and staff for running the events, cooking the chili, loaning and setting up equipment, and just joining in the fun. I think our kids are really fortunate and lucky that they have such great adult Olympians in their present. They did well. And then lastly, the Safety Committee and PES, we're excited to be taking part in a safety assessment by the state of New Hampshire, the Department of Safety, Division of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. So that will be on April 3rd, which is a Monday. Scott Nichols from the state, Chief Lefebvre, Chief Clogston, and our town emergency management director, Paul Freitas, will join us here at school. And they essentially assess our emergency management plans that we have in place, the building, the grounds, just overall safety practices. So it's just a nice opportunity to get some outside feedback coming in from the state. And prior to this meeting, I was asked to complete a school self-assessment. So with the help of John Francis, Gary Miller, both Chief Lefebvre and Chief Clogston, we were able to get all that information supplied. And then the high school will also be participating in the same assessment on April 19th. So we're looking forward to that. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions from Julie? Thank you very much. Privilege of the floor. Nobody cares to speak this evening. Consent items, claims and payroll. We've all signed the manifests. And correspondence.
Yes.
Fiscal year 16 on a letter.
Contained in your package, you have a letter written to me from Paul Leather, who at the time was the acting commissioner of education, informing us that all the audits in SAU 48 for FY 16 were approved by the department. So just wanted to have a copy of that letter for you.
Discussion items, 2017-18 calendar.
Yes. In front of you, you have calendar recommended by the building. And we'll walk through by month to make sure that we haven't forgotten something. But, basically, in August, there'll be 3 teacher work days, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. 23rd will be the SAU day, where there are a lot of activities with all the schools within SAU 48. School will begin on Monday, August 28th, so there'll be 4 days in August. Long weekend, that weekend, Labor Day weekend, so the Friday the 1st and Monday the 4th would be off, and then we would have 19 days in the month of September. Columbus Day on October the 9th, and that's 21 days in October. Month of November, On Thursday, the 9th, would be parent-teacher conferences, and then the celebration of Veterans Day, the legal holiday, would be Friday, the 10th, so that would be a long weekend, the 9th and the 10th, going into the weekend. And then for Thanksgiving, there would be a full day off on Wednesday, the 22nd, along with Thanksgiving and the Friday after. So 17 days in November. The holiday season break would start on Friday, the 22nd, and go through the rest of the month of December. And then we would start back on Tuesday, January 2nd. So December would have 15 days. And then the holiday Martin Luther King weekend is the 15th, so there's 21 days in January. February, looking at a half a day for parent-teacher conferences on Monday, the 19th. And then the winter break is the 26th of February through March the 2nd, so 17 days in February, and then 20 days in March. April, the fourth week, would be spring recess, 23rd through the 27th for 16 days. Memorial Day on the 28th of May, 22 days in May. And then without inclement weather days and all the other things we have to deal with, we'd have 8 days in June, which actually would have students leaving on the 12th and the teachers finishing up on the 13th. So. The only difference with this calendar and the high school is the high school will be doing a half a day on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and there'll also be, I think, a half a day on before Christmas. I think they're rounding out that week, but other than that, they match up pretty well. And obviously, this you can do whatever you'd like. That's just sometimes we get, what's the high school doing and what's this elementary school doing. But it's great, and so I would ask that
Any
you accept it.
Need a motion to accept?
Yes, please.
So move. Your second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well done.
Thank you.
Date of the next board meeting?
Yes, I won't be available on Monday, April 3rd, and I'm sorry for that. But there are some dates in late March or later on that week in April, and I'm wondering, it's nothing for John and Kate to worry about, but just wondering if the other three board members would be available any of those times. So, Wednesday the 5th or Thursday the 6th of April, or if you want to back into March, Thursday the 23rd, Wednesday the 29th, or Thursday the 30th, all of those days are
Either one or in
The
April.
only day that's tough for me is Wednesday,
Me too.
just because I'm not in town.
Thursday?
So-
Is that the other day you said, Mark?
Yeah, Thursday the 23rd or Thursday the 30th.
I won't be around on the 23rd, I'll be here the 30th.
30th?
30th?
That's
30th?
fine.
March.
So Thursday, March 30th,
Mhm.
next board meeting. Thank you. Yeah.
District meeting preparation.
Yes. All of the handouts are out. Same from the budget committee, the budget hearing. And then the pink sheet is the warrant article explanations for folks. Shows all color coordinated. Town reports are there, budgets are there, backup information is there. So it's just a matter of assigning who makes motions to move
I
articles.
get to pass that out.
That's your job.
Do that in non-public, that way they can fight over it.
No, you ought to do that in public.
I gotta do that in public first?
Yeah, that's really not a topic for a non-public session.
Oh, you just took that right out of my hands.
You still argue over it, but
You
you
can
got
still argue over it? No, I'm just gonna pass them down, we're gonna let Frank have that.
Yes.
And, like anything else, if there are specific questions, the day-to-day operation of the building, Julie and Kelly would be happy to respond to it. Budget and other issues, I'd be happy to respond to it. So,
Okay. Other business, anybody have anything else to discuss? I have one question. Where are we standing this year with snow days?
We have 5 so far, so we're looking like, we're at the end of a week.
June 20th?
Yeah, so as a superintendent, I have flexibility to switch over to counting hours. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, it's sort of going to end the 20th.
20th?
Yeah, I don't want to.
So last day of school?
Yeah. Is that a good night for graduation? Is that what you had sort of planned on anyway?
That's what we're looking at.
Yeah. So we can do a half a day and get the younger kids out of here. When's the Montreal trip?
The beginning of that week.
Okay.
So.
All right. So we'll be fine.
And I have the book of policies that I was going to hand to someone, but I guess it should be Frank.
I have one of these.
Do you have all of
I
them?
do
That was
have
the one
this.
that, because I was the one who was sort of the keeper of the policies and did the
Oh, hold on,
revisions.
yeah.
I have the original one Mark gave me.
And this
You know
one
how long
maybe.
ago that was, Joe?
And this, the last time that Michelle McCauley and I went through all of them was a long time ago now, so these may be out of date.
We're in pretty good shape. Michelle keeps an eye on them,
Yeah.
and then, at the beginning of a year, she'll say to me, you know, during these months, can you take these policies over? So you'll probably get a couple policies probably in April and May.
And you don't have to keep that, but I think the last time Michelle and I went through them together, as I looked at the dates, and there was like 2010, and then we've just kept up with them year by year, but we've gotten kind of behind.
Privilege of the floor, number 2. Anybody?
Just want to clarify, the 20th, did you say half day, the 20th, or full day?
In June?
In June.
It's okay with me if we have a half a day on June 20th. I really leave that up to the building. I just need the kids to eat so I can count the day.
Okay, thank you.
No, I have one thing.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if any of the strategies for staffing next year have changed since the last board meeting with our budget.
So we haven't talked too much about it, but I did start building next year's schedule. And just knowing that, looking at fleshing out some of the intermediate classes to three classes. So my plan would be to present
Yeah,
that.
and some special ed money has loosened up a bit as we project into next year. So Julie and I will sit and make some recommendations to the board, but I think we can get to where you want to get without raising more money, to be very honest with you.
Okay.
I mean, if you want to raise money, the board, the meeting is free to do anything it wants. But, you know, we have an eye toward that. We know what the enrollments look like, so.
Okay, now, last year, the enrollments, I mean, at this point, you pretty much knew what the enrollments were too until a week, as I understand,
it's
beginning
true.
of the school.
The summer.
I guess, you know, with everyone's good intentions, that's great, but what is the plan if 1 week before school starts, you know, we start to get like a huge number of people?
We have had that happen before.
No, I
Well,
think,
that happened this last fall.
yeah, I think that we can get 3 in all the grades if the money works out. And right now, the money projects out pretty well.
Great, thank you.
I see that we've increased grade 3 again.
And the other piece is that if we get a surprise special ed, we're allowed to go into deficit for special education. The only 2 reasons that we can go into deficit are special education or a legal decision against us. So we have a little bit of flexibility there.
But that's not part of the $1,000 fund, that's the warrant article?
Oh, the contingency?
Yeah.
No, the reason for the contingency is, when you look at our budget and you see dollar items and all of those line items, that means that we're allowed to spend within that category. We may not have money for whatever the categories are, but we're allowed to spend if we put $1 in there. And what we do with that $1,000 is if we've forgotten something, we can transfer that into one of those line items. But it's a place marker. If something significant comes up, we transfer money from one account to another. But that 1,000 actually allows us to go outside of the budget process for things we may have forgotten.
But the special education will be a totally separate.
That's totally separate, yeah.
So, I wasn't here for the last school board meeting, just for clarification, you're saying there's gonna be most likely 3 three classes
For grade 4.
grade 4. Does that mean that the current RTI program that's being run with the grade 3s right now is not going to be continued in grade 4?
No, we'll continue that as well.
In the same format?
Yes.
That personnel is in the budget.
Okay, thank you.
Any more comments? Thank you very
Will
much.
there be, sorry.
Go ahead, it's okay.
Will there be any two teacher grades? I mean, are we moving just a teacher from a different grade and making sort of a two teacher grades elsewhere?
We don't know yet, but we have, I think we have the resources to go as high as 3 teachers in every room.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that-
And that's based on, if you read the special and I'm not making this up, if you read the special ed tuition line and you see that major increase, I think that we're in a position now where we may not need a majority of that money. We still have the program, but we budget worst-case scenario if someone had to leave and go out to another district. And right now, we've structured it so that that program is in-house.
Okay. So will the school be looking for people to fill those positions?
Yes, we have an ad right now in the newspaper.
I saw that.
Yes.
Great.
So what we do is as it said, it's anticipated openings. And so we go into that pool of people who apply.
Play devil's advocate, not to diminish the concern for over-enrollment or large class sizes that's happening this year, but is there a theoretical minimum class size where you'd want to go back to 2 teachers? If you had 3 teachers budgeted for a classroom and there were
Yeah.
24, would you not
Yeah.
want to go smaller?
We don't.
8, something like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. We don't have any absolute number, either to cut or to raise. We look at makeup of the class. At the same time, we let common sense prevail. The one issue, though, is once we issue a contract after April 15th for returning folks, or if we hire someone after April 15th, we have to honor that contract. So it may be that someone comes and then all of a sudden a lot of kids will leave. What we would do is then say, we're keeping that teacher, where do we use that teacher? But we're committed. It's not like a business where you can make monthly or quarterly decisions on personnel. Once we make a commitment, we have to honor that commitment.
Oh, makes sense. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Okay, I will entertain a motion to go into non-public session.
Make a motion to go to non-public session.
Second.
In favor?